Hello and welcome to Strategies Advancing Disability Inclusion and Belonging as we celebrate NDEAM 2022. Welcome to our Rangam REDi chat. And this year, our theme for, not our theme, but the national theme for NDEAM is disability, part of the equity equation. I'm Tracey Andrus, EVP of Global Innovation here at Rangam, and we celebrate this National Disability Employment Awareness Month. And we're very excited to have our guests here that are with us today. And before I introduce our wonderful guests, I want to talk a little bit about NDEAM and the focus on celebrating and the contributions that to the nation's economy, which is made by the people with disabilities, while advancing equity in the workplace. We also highlight the supportive and inclusive practices benefiting workers and employers. A strong workforce is a desire of all organizations and businesses to thrive and grow. Disability has and will continue to be a valuable part of that framework. Again, you're going to hear some of that beautiful framework in our discussions here today. As a nation, we are focused to achieve disability inclusion is in fact truly inclusive. At Rangam, we partner with organizations and businesses like Accenture and provide a consultative approach in support to remove barriers to employment and gain successful and inclusive employment opportunities. So we can gain access to the talent community that has strengths and abilities to help us to achieve our success in the workplace. And I can't think of a better way to celebrate NDEAM than to be with all of you today here and our client partner Accenture, Trish Kercher, Tammy Nguyen, and our employee John Wilson, and our co-founder and president Hetal Parikh. And we are here to talk about the inclusion in the workplace. And I'm going to begin with some introductions and welcoming the team. And one of the things that I'm going to start with Hetal Parikh, who with Rangam mission and what Hetal does and leads every day is accelerating meaningful employment in the workplace for everyone. So I'm going to have her begin with giving a little bit about herself and what NDEAM means to her. Hetal.
Thank you so much, Tracy. First of all, I want to thank you and the team here for giving me this opportunity to be part of this incredible conversation in this month of October NDEAM, which we know we're very passionate about. I am the president and co-founder of Rangam Consultants. Really fortunate to be part of an organization that is so focused around serving our community, serving the people that we serve, our talent community, and providing a holistic workforce solution with a culture of empathy and inclusion. Our leadership team represents around 70% of people with disability or some form of invisible or visible disability. And our organization team has over 30% that has combined talent with those with neurodiversity and all forms of different abilities. So naturally, really excited to be part of this organization and be able to lead the organization with a purposeful, mission-driven organization that we're focused a lot on providing quality of life for our client.
Thank you, Hetal. And Trish.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here today, Tracy, and this opportunity. I'm honored to be here. I serve as a commercial director within Accenture, working for large global clients across the industry. And I'm very passionate about disability inclusion, and diversity inclusion. One of the things that I think where this came from for me is in my formative years and growing up, my family had a healthcare business where we served and cared for individuals who were disabled. And that created in me and fostered, I think at an early age, empathy for people who are disabled or differently abled. And I recognized that they still had very meaningful and rich lives represented wonderful contributions, and were, a valuable part of our community. So it started for me at an early age, and then just for inclusion. I'm very passionate about diversity, inclusion, particularly because I feel that I personally thrive when I am in an environment that is inclusive, and I see that in others as well. So it creates and furthers, I think, equity and belonging for people who are, whether you're part of a corporate culture, a team, a community. And so very passionate and very excited to be here today. So thank you again.
Thank you, Trish, and thank you for sharing. That's great. And Tammy, we're excited to have you participate with us as well today.
Thank you. And thank you for having me, and thank you for inviting me to this event. It is my first time. I'm Tammy Nguyen. I have been with Accenture for about 15 years. I am the commercial operations lead at Accenture, currently supporting life sciences account. Most of my career at Accenture has been in PMO. I've had the opportunity to work with a very diverse workforce. We've had originally I came from the federal side, so it wasn't as diverse. So when I had the opportunity to move over to the commercial sector side of Accenture, it's more global. So I had the opportunity to work with a global workforce, not just limited within the US. I had the pleasure of working with people overseas, which is a first for me after 10 years with Accenture. So working with folks overseas, with different culture, different background. And now I have a even more connection with the disability community through our partnership with Rangam. So I'm very, very excited about that. And I'm very blessed to have this experience as part of my career journey. So
excellent. Well, thank you, Tammy. It's been a pleasure working with you and the team, and appreciate your support and guidance as well. And John, over to you, and share a bit about your background, and welcome to the RedI Chat.
Absolutely. Well, I have been in the white collar sector for 10 plus years. Very happy to be here and very happy to be helping Accenture. My experiences with Accenture are that, well, one thing I've really admired about Ito and Tammy and the way they do things is they're very abundant credit givers, and that's been very sweet and nice to see. And I have been paying that forward by offering a lot of things to the people I work with on my own assignments. And I also like how open things are from the perspective of, in our team meetings, we just check in with each other. I'll ask somebody if they need help with something that I know they've got going on that day, and they know that they can check on my bandwidth to see if I might be able to help them with an assignment. And I just like that kind of openness too. So overall, my experiences with Accenture have been very positive.
Well, that's wonderful. And John, a little background. You want to share a brief background about you from an introduction?
Well, yes, I've been in the white collar sector for 10 plus years. I've been involved in quite a bit of data analysis, reporting analysis, and helping out with spreadsheets and things like that. And otherwise, I love dogs, love karaoke.
That's great.
Yeah, and
that's wonderful. Well, I know you've got a great background and experiences, and I remember here, and and you have a beautiful dog, Jazz, and karaoke. That's I think that is something we all have enjoyed. I know that That is a fun thing for many of us to be able to do. I'm looking at our co-founder Hetal because I know that that's something that she too has enjoyed doing. So let's move into our first question. I'm going to start with Hetal. And we talked a little bit about the theme earlier, as I mentioned. And why is this theme this year, the disability part of the equity equation, more important than ever, Hetal?
Really great question, Tracy. As we speak right now, I am currently in Las Vegas, taking part in American Staffing Association World Summit. And they have shared a very interesting statistics, right, which many of us are already familiar and aware of, that there's about 10 million jobs that open up annually. However, in the job market, there's only 5.7 million candidates. And as we face many hurdles and struggles of talent shortages, talent market, but on the flip side, when we take a look at the silver lining of post-pandemic, what pandemic had done was really open up many opportunities for people with all types of abilities to be able to function and work and be able to have that level playing field to compete on some of these meaningful jobs that they could be definitely be qualified for. So what I feel that during this month of NDEAM, it's really a opportunity for organizations like us to be able to support many of the great leaders and champions to be the catalyst of that change within that organization that helps to show the great value proposition of considering DE&I&B and inclusive of people with disability and all abilities. So what truly I believe is that as people are dictating and how the world of work is changing in terms of how they choose to appear to work or choose to engage with the workforce, the hybrid work has really definitely opened up many possibilities. And data and statistics also show that there's around 37% of workforce that is fully engaged. Around 18% is not engaged, which is what's resulting into this great resignation that we've constantly been hearing about. However, at Rangam, we're so passionate about our mission of meaningful employment for everyone that we believe that this great resignation is in fact a great opportunities where when we look at the community that we serve and we support, especially people with all different abilities and neurodiversity, they're fully committed and they're so passionate about the work that they do. So it's really important to connect the talent with the right passion, right skills, with those opportunities to be able to have that fully engaged workforce and experience that incredible culture of inclusiveness, which is something that we are all striving for today as part of our DE&I initiatives. So this is where I feel that there's some great opportunities ahead of us, and it's just the sky's just the limit where we can create the shared value and ensure that we have every single individuals with all types of unique abilities be able to have incredible, meaningful opportunities.
Thank you, Hetal. And as you said, there is that more than ever with the talent shortage, there's a skills shortage, and there's this talent community that's just waiting to be tapped into, as well as you talked about engagement. I want to go over to Trish and Accenture's commitment to promoting disability inclusion workplace that not only provides equity, but also fosters a sense of belonging, which really does go to what Hetal was talking about on the engagement side of it. Can you share a bit about Accenture and their commitment?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it ties to a core value that Accenture has had for years and years as a company, which is respect for the individual and being able to show up as our authentic selves. That has been one of the fundamental core values that we've had as a company, and anyone who joins Accenture, I think, recognizes that as a core element of our culture. We also recognize, and research has shown, and we've partnered with different organizations to provide, in research, to provide research and thought leadership that show that actually your teams and companies that are more diverse and across all populations and categories, including disability, perform higher. Their higher performing teams drive more revenues, and kind of outperform in key metrics than teams and companies that are not diverse, that don't foster and embrace a sense of belonging and have intentional inclusion strategies for their workforce, for talent acquisition. And so Accenture also recognizes this kind of outcome and benefit from not just having it as a core value and respect for each individual. We're all individual and unique, and bring our own gifts and talents and capabilities, but that there's also very rich outcomes for companies, communities that are also diverse and are focused on and intentional about inclusion, and also focusing now more than ever, I think, in one of the lagging areas, which is disability inclusion, and shoring up how we tap into the workforce that's hidden there. And as Hetal was mentioning, from one of the benefits from the pandemic, we've recognized part of the future of talent and workforce is this hybrid working environment capability, which has opened up numerous doors that maybe before there were barriers for people who are disabled to contribute and to no longer be hidden in the workforce, have their talents hidden, but have the ability to belong and to have equity in the work environment. So I think for all of those reasons, this will always be a focus and a commitment for Accenture.
That's great. That's fabulous. Thank you. And tapping into that workforce and that, those talents and abilities, Tammy, as a hiring manager with Accenture, and can you share a bit about how working and engaging internal teams and stakeholders to create the right environment for hiring and retaining employees team members with disabilities? How did you go about doing that? And can you share that with us?
Yeah, so within our current account, I think John is the second person that we've brought on. Specifically for the commercial operations side, John is the first resource from Rangam that we onboarded. So before we even kicked off the onboarding process for John, I made sure the entire commercial operations team at all levels took multiple trainings. One was conducted at the leads level and above, and then we also have one that was cross-team training, where we had a Rangam trainer come to present and facilitate the training. This enabled our team members to be more prepared, more aware, and to be more mindful of how to engage with John and make him feel inclusive. And so before John started, one of the things we worked on with Rangam was to identify different roles within Accenture. So we had a supervisor identified, we had a mentor, as well as a buddy. So it's kind of like a 3-person network for John, if you will, to this kind of build the network within Accenture that will help John, navigate his way around the organization and the teams. So I hope that was, of benefit to John.
That's great. And that's creating that universal support that you would have there in place for any of your new colleagues coming into Accenture is, I know, very important. I know that's something that you strive towards. And you mentioned that, Trish, too, as part of your core values in ensuring that everyone has an environment to be able to be successful in their roles is really key. And so, John, as a Rangam consultant working on an assignment with Accenture as a senior manager in sales operations and reporting analyst in a global role, Can you share a bit about your experience in that role with the team?
Well, I'll touch up on some items I didn't touch up on earlier. My background, uh, for example, it was nice to speak with somebody outside of my immediate work team in Accenture, as there were occasions where it shed some light on other other things that other teams needed, and that was kind of nice. And I I would also speak with Jaina from Rangam when maybe some new work assignments came around, and I uh, I was just kind of it was just nice to speak with somebody as I was mastering some new assignments. And those are some other experiences I can share with Accenture so far.
That's great. That's great. And I think one of the things you had shared with me is that in your role, being in a global role like that, it's really having that, the understanding of the difference in the time zones and being conscious about, when there's different work tasks and what you need to do, which is really a wonderful thing to be able to adapt and be flexible with how it is that we operate as a team when you're global and you're working on those multiple time zones. So I appreciated learning that from you as well on how you and your team have worked together. And it's great having the support, as Tammy talked about, not only support within Accenture, but Jana, as a workforce development support manager, is always there for the guidance and support to you and Accenture, along with our concierge team that we have, which is really beneficial as well. But Trish, with what John and Tammy have been sharing, and you have been a part of the program with Accenture and hiring for some time. And as we really look at, this National Disability Employment Month, what impact overall have you seen on the hiring with your team?
Yeah, I think what I have seen is that it's created, I think, a richness to the team culture. I know one of the things, Tammy, you had noticed early on was just this increased kind of positivity. Working with John and having him being a part of the team was like a breath of fresh air.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it goes a very long way in terms of having people, when other people are recognized, included and respected for their individuality and who they are and all their diversity, whether they're disabled or another, category of diversity, or they're directly or indirectly, have someone in their life that may, be disabled or in a diverse category. It is very touching to see that you have a team that's driving inclusion, being intentional about tapping into rich talent that exists and, in abundance across different populations that previously have struggled through barriers of employment. And I think everybody on different levels and in a personal way have related to and appreciated the work that we've done as part of our team in partnership with Rangam and your SourceAbled program to focus on inclusion, disability inclusion, and having intentional strategies to broaden your talent acquisition and tapping into opportunities to drive improved equity and belonging for everyone in our communities. So I feel like the team, it's created a rich working environment, lots of positivity. And I think also it's done a lot on a personal level for many people just to see that type of commitment and outcomes that we've had with John as part of our team.
That's great. Thanks, Trish. Appreciate it. And Tammy, if you want to just, expand on that about the support that you and your team have encountered, that would be great.
Yeah, so it truly has been a joint effort or partnership, if you will, between our two companies. I mean, I can't say that more. I mean, our the synergies and partnership between Rangam and Accenture. I mean, just for example, you mentioned before with the service of this concierge. I mean, it's been like a very in asset, if you will, from your company that we very much appreciate. I mean, we are in constant communication. You guys really build the bridge between us, and fortunately, there hasn't been any reasons to, you know, further engage or have you guys involved in mitigating any issues, because John is amazing. But we know that the resources there, I mean, with Jana and Aaron, and the workforce and development team, you guys are always communicating with us. We have, our biweekly cadence, monthly cadence, as well as quarterly cadence. Well, we do meet and communicate, and it's an open forum for us to communicate any concerns that we had. So it's been a valuable asset that we appreciate that you guys extend and offer as part of your service to Accenture.
Great, great. And I think that the key thing is that, we want to be sure that as a team, we're creating that sense of belonging, and making sure that there's, no barriers to the success in achieving all of our roles, no matter what those roles are. So speaking of roles, John, to you, if you could give some advice, what advice would you give to other job seekers?
To start off, check in with Rangam and see if you can get in with Rangam. Speaking of
Nice plug
Rangam
there.
services, yeah, speaking of Rangam services, they have coaching services there, so you can actually prepare for interviews using their help. Maybe take the 7 or 10 most commonly asked interview questions, prepare for those. But most importantly, the biggest piece of advice I want to share is when they ask at the end, what questions do you have for me? That's where you really want to take the opportunity to build a connection with your interviewer. So you want to ask questions such as, what's one of your biggest challenges? Or what do you like to do outside of work? Or what's one of the coolest lessons you've learned working with Accenture or whatever the company is? And these sort of questions can help build rapport between you and the interviewer and can help you stand out from the competition, because if you've made it to the interview, they already like you on paper. So what's going to make you stand out is
I love it. And I appreciate your advice. And what was most powerful to me was your all of it, but really the lessons that we should learn is to prepare those questions to ask back. And that is such beautiful advice. And thank you for sharing that with us here
very
today.
much happy to.
I would like to wrap up with a final question to Hetal before we wrap our session. And Hetal, if you look at the future of employment for people with disabilities, what does that future entail?
I think it's extremely positive for many reasons, right? The supply and demand of the talent shortage is really creating that increased demand. Most importantly, I think it's the 5th generation of workforce that's coming coming into the workplace has also created an incredible change in terms of how employers are looking at talent differently, in terms of how they attract talent, how they engage talent, and how they support the talent. So that from that perspective, I feel that in the next 10 years of the decade, it's really going to change I would say the facelift of how meaningful employment is presented for people with disability and neurodiversity. In addition to creating a level playing field, I'd say we are very optimistic and hopeful that it's going to be transparent, and we're not going to need to have this special conversations and topic, and it's going to become seamless as part of the strategic HR initiatives on how they do the hiring across the board.
Thank you, Hetal, and thank you to all of you. John, I appreciate you. Thank you for the opportunity for us to support you through your career journey and growth. And we appreciate your insights and what you share with us. And we wish you continued success. To Tammy, as a hiring manager, working with the talent and team members, and we can, in your dedication towards the support of employment for people with disabilities, as well as the sense of belonging, we thank you for your time and support in that. And Trish, for your leadership throughout with the program. It has been a great partnership. And to Bridget, I wanted to introduce, we have our beautiful Bridget on here. And Bridget, thank you for being a part of our Redi chats. And periodically you'll see Bridget with us. And without you, this isn't possible. We want to be sure that we can share to all. And Bridget helps to make that possible. So thank you all, and appreciating National Disability Employment Month. It's not just 1 month. It's every day of the year going forward every year. And please be sure to follow that mission, and you too can make a difference. So thank you for your time and being a part of this. And we appreciate all of you for being here. Have a great day.
Thank you, Tracey.
Thank you, you too.